Okay, people, it's 7 o'clock. This is the day the Lord has made, and we shall be rejoice and be glad in it. I'm going to kindly ask Esther, Namanya Esther, please lead us in an opening prayer.
Let's pray. Mighty Father, we thank you for the gift of this new day, and we thank you for the session we are going to have. May you make it productive, may it be of an impact to us. In Jesus' name, I've prayed and believed.
Amen.
Amen. It's welcome to the call, ladies and gentlemen, investors at large. Today we have a very interesting speaker. This gentleman has got to wear many hats in his life. Yeah, he has been a banker, he has been in the agriculture world, but he has also tested different forms of victory and failure. And today he would like to share with us straight from his heart. So please welcome with me, unmute your mics, and please welcome with me Ivan Musajja to take us through today's session. Hey,
Clap,
people, we
clap,
say
clap, clap, clap.
Akalulukaliwa. And I know investors are very quiet, so Ivan, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all slept well. My name is Ivan Musajja. I'm glad to be here, VLN Forum. I must say it's an honor and opportunity to share my story, and hoping that it will encourage someone in this business world. I keep on saying that even as much as we are all working in different spheres, in the corporate world, in different areas, at one time, all of us will end up in business. So the earlier, sometimes the better, so that we can start facing the challenges and the learnings. Yeah, like CD had introduced, my previous life has been in banking industry, which I left in 2017 happily, but I've not regretted. I'm in a growth journey in the business world. So I'm a business leader into two main areas of agriculture, in the production side and animal farming, and also in the trading side of grain. I do also a little bit of some few other things in the financial side, the consultancy. And today I would like to share from what Michael Sebagala a few weeks ago presented on failing forward. I believed it was a very powerful presentation, and which I mentioned to Siri, it is always good for us business people in the forum to try and also share our failures, to be vulnerable, to be able to help others, to encourage them to come to this side of the world. I believe is the best place to be able to learn from practically. It's no longer the works of theory and everything. It's a practical side. So I've been in the corporate side where I used to assess business people, and based on a various assumption, and now I'm on the other side. I can feel what some of them used to tell me. So I'm going to share my story in relation to failing forward and how it helped me learn so much to be able to be where I have reached at this point of time, and the growth in the business that I'm leading. First, I'll start from 2016 is when I started doing this business, a business specifically in rice. I was introduced in this business by a good friend of mine, young at that time, in the 30s. He was already having a manufacturing business while I was in the bank. So I was like, wow, what am I doing in the bank? If people are already in the production side and doing very great things. A friend of mine approached me. They were looking at funding, and they had a very good business proposition. They had a very big mill in Namambe, and it made much sense to support them. One day introduced me to rice and say, Ivan, why don't you start selling rice? And I was like, I've never tried anything to do with trading. And in my naivety, I was wearing nice suits and everything. I didn't know that I would one day end up in business or trading. So he gave me some few clues, and he was willing to hold my hand and direct me. So he told me to go down in a town in Kamal in the Western region, and said, if there is market there, I'll give you that area to be able to become an agent. I didn't have any coin, by the way. Mark, I was one of the people who's helped people to raise funds. So it was a good challenge for me to start thinking, how do you raise funds to start a new business, a new baby? So I hesitated, but one time he called me and said, can we go to Kabale? We jumped into his car, drove down, and we went to the market. We looked at the area, we surveyed, and he said, there is an opportunity here. And he told me to get somebody who had already contacted to get me a location. I showed him the location, and from there, he told me there's an opportunity, you can start the business. Like many people, when you're starting a new business, your question is, where am I going to get capital? The first blockage on your mind is capital, finances, and you're like, wow, where am I going to get 60, 70 million to start a good business? And from that, sometimes if you're not encouraged, you close on that opportunity and say, I don't think I can start. And we keep on delaying on the basis of capital, lack of capital. But in my few learnings, I'd learned what is called supplier credit. So I engaged my friend and I told him, I don't have the capital, but I would like you to supply me on credit and I will pay. And in good terms, but we had a good relationship that he knew me from the time we studied together, and he gave me the opportunity. The first consignment, I got a stock of 28 tons, one full container on supplier credit. I paid rent, which was very cheap at that time, 2016, of 250,000 shillings for a very big store. So my cost to start up for the premises was very small, and one worker who I was connected to by my mother-in-law. So very trustworthy guy. I've worked with him since 2016. He's my first-hand man there and runs the show. So we start off, he sends me stock and we started selling rice. And business started, we had no principles in the business. It was young. We didn't have an account. We only just received cash and kept on paying the supplier, and he supplies us. And, over a period of time, it was only one employee, me and him. And, we started on a rugged way. And no sooner than we knew, we didn't know where we were going to fall after some period of time. So fast tracking 2017, I left my job and I thought, now I'm ready for business. And I started doing this business with other farming business. But over the period of time, our director says, when you don't have a separation principle, you're headed to failure, because we started cutting into the capital of the business, and a business that was growing, a good turnover. I think we're making a turnover initially of about 300, 400 million annually. Everything was manual. We didn't have systems, we didn't have anything. We ended up squandering some of our capital. Let me say, our capital was wiped out, and come 2019, our supplier who was supplying us most of the rice, we had only one supplier in this case, which is another lesson. I'll point out the lessons at the end. Got into trouble. They went into a greenfield project and they stopped the importation of rice, so they did not have stock. It came a point in 2019 where we are reconciling our books around May 2019, and we find out we didn't have stock, we didn't have cash, and we had a debt with the supplier. So we didn't have money. Basically, we ran the business down completely 2019. And I had to relieve some of the few people working with. The only asset we had at that particular point of time is a truck that we had bought to do root sales around the region. And that's the only thing we are left with. So from mid-2019 to end of 2019, our shops were closed. Our supplier changed the business model and gone into something else to try some new venture. And that's where the beginning of the failure. We failed basically. We failed in the business. A good business has started very well and collapsed. I had a very good manager who was very enthusiastic and kept on telling me we need to go back into the business because we had made a very big name in the market. Everybody knew us in the market as Kingdom Rice. So they kept on asking, when are we bringing rice? When are we bringing rice? But we didn't have anything. And at one point, my manager said, why don't you go and borrow some money and restart the business? I said, I'm not going to borrow any money. For now, I need to raise capital in another smart way than borrowing because the margins in the rice business were very small. We're talking about 3% to 5%. So borrowing didn't make sense to me after understanding my corporate world of financing. Fast forward 2020, we are in lockdown and I start thinking because lockdown was a good session for us to be able to sit down and start thinking about how to change our businesses, our attitudes, and we were learning after the failing that we had gone through. So I went back and looked at my failures. Where did I not do well? Which mistakes I made? And I made a decision. I told my manager that we have a truck. That's the only asset we have. We have to sell it and raise capital. Come mid after lockdown 2020, we sold the truck, 35 million shillings. That was able to raise us one truck of rice locally. We started sourcing rice from the eastern side. We got a supplier from Ginger. But from that 35 million, I had to pay a small debt that I had. So I remained with about 13 million. It was not enough to buy a truck. So I had to think again. I approached a friend of mine who was milling posho because posho was one of the things that was moving in Kabale. So I approached him and said, let's join hands together. You bring half posho, I bring half rice. We load his truck and we go to Kabale and put in a store and start business. So he agreed to it. And while we were going to load the rice in Ginger, during the lockdown, we had an escapade where the police caught us because we didn't have a sticker at that point of time. And I ended up in the Chira police with my small capital in my pockets. Yet we were supposed to go to Ginger and buy rice. So I was scared. Like I think I was going to lose everything that I wanted to start my business with. So I called my friend. I said, "Come quickly, pick this money and go and buy the stock." While I tried to sort out the issues at the police station. So he bought the stock. Came back to Kampala. We were supposed to drive because trucks at that time were allowed to go up country. And unfortunately, my issues had not been sorted at police station. So he ended up going alone. I connected him to my manager. Good enough, the stock reached and we started business. As we started business, we did not have enough capital. So we realized, again, we are falling short in terms of delivering to our customers. We started sourcing for suppliers from Tanzania. I got in touch with one supplier. I had the advantage of knowing Swahili speaking fluently and spoke to him in the language that he understood. And he advised me he had another customer. So we used to combine two customers, putting in one truck, bring the rice we sell. But we were selling so fast that the person we were bringing with the rice was slowing us down. We had to wait for him to finish his stock or make a new order in order to get our stock. I got the courage and boldness to talk to that supplier in Tanzania and say, I want to do my own truck. I don't have enough money, but I need supplier credit. Trust me. I'd never met this man, but I think what unified us was the language. And he started selling. He trusted. He made some few calls in the market. They told him who we are. They told him my person who was genuine, and he did a background check, and we passed. And he mentioned to me that he's going to start giving me my own truck, full of 12 tons to start selling. So I started enjoying credit from him, and it grew. We were selling his brand so fast that no one else in the market knew about his brand apart from us, that we grew over a period of time, that is in 2020, 2021. And it started with 12 tons and ended up into having up to a full container, that is 28 tons. From one container, 2 containers, 3 containers in a month. And we thank God that really this person was a person of peace who trusted us, and we grew the business. I must say, at that point of time, we were investing everything that we were getting, the profit that we were getting back, we put back into the business. We started paying ourselves salaries. We opened a different account for the business. So we started applying some of the principles that we started learning from this particular forum. And the business grew over a period of time. We were able to start now paying fully for some of our procurements. And to date, we even now got new suppliers for different particular rice that we sell. We've been able to marshal ourselves from capitalization of 13 million. We are over and above 100 million in terms of capital. We've been able to increase our customer base. We've been able to start some new systems into the business. And from that point of time, our failure now taught us how to come back to business and to get some few successes that I feel like it is good to share from this particular point of time. So that's my story of falling forward. As discussed by Michael Selvagala, sometimes the failures that we face in business are key points for us to be able to make a stepping stone, stepping steps for the next growth in our businesses. So from that particular angle, we are able to now sustain ourselves without actually relying on supplier credit, though we still, most of the time when we want, we're able to ask for it, and we've grown now the business. Our turnover as of today from that particular business has grown to over 1 billion shillings, and we are looking to increase our outlets, hopefully next year to a second one. And we found purpose in this business in terms of where we want to go and who we want to serve. I believe it is one of the things that BLN has helped us in our business. So that's my story for today. I want to just highlight some key lessons from our failure that has helped us grow. Number one, from BLN, we learned the principle of separation. I think that was a presentation one time by the director. One of our key issues at the beginning of the business is the separation principle. The director says that business money is not your money, and I can testify business money is not your money. If you touch your capital, you burn your fingers. So we've managed to separate that. We've had an account where we put the money and pay the salary. My worker is paid a salary. Expenses are done separately. We're able to put an account separately for our profits. One of the things I learned this year is putting aside a saving for the business as well. So out of our net profits, we shave off about 10 to 20% that we keep separately somewhere on an account that is able to earn money passively. And we believe that's a very good strategy. Given our scenario one time, we never know in business, anything can change. And if we fail again, we know we have another source of income that we've set aside to start all over. As I said, yes, we are paying ourselves. That's another principle I realized here, that it's good to pay yourself. And there are various ways to pay yourself. As you can either pay yourself as an employee of the company, or secondly, you can pay yourself as a shareholder. At the end of the day, you can declare dividends. Systems. Also, I think in the SOB sections that have gone invited by Chris Kawesa and the team in SOB, they have been speaking about systems. This year, I decided I will go systems. Previously, everything was manual. We would do Excel sheets. We were lost. Sometimes we would not know how much turnover we've done, We had issues of debtors. We don't know all our debtors and how much the aging of our debtors. It was a big issue. We didn't have a very good visibility of our business. So early this year, I decided to start on QuickBooks, which is a very simple tool for managing your transactions. So we went into QuickBooks. My manager was trained, myself, I was trained. We were able to start putting, and now we can see our P&L. We can see our debtors. We would give debt up to half of our capital, which was a very huge risk. Now we've reduced that significantly to probably 10% of our capital, and we are strict to 14 days maximum on our in terms of giving credit. So systems have helped us grow. I've seen our margin. We're able now to tell our turnover and everything else. We've also, the good thing I must say, when we started again the business in 2020, I had a very good manager who spiritually is grounded, and we started doing tithing the business at that particular point when we started. So we've been tithing 10% of our net profit for the business, and that has significantly seen our growth in business. Some of the things we do is amazing. We could bring sometimes a truck and it's gone in one day. I can't explain that, but I believe it's the power of paying tithes. There's a blessing into that particular. So I would like to encourage businesses to pay tithe. We're looking at starting to invest in our own land, based on the teaching that we're told, churches sometimes you start on rented premises, tomorrow you are vacated. So we started a journey of starting to save for procurement of our own land. And our vision is to have our own warehouses, a base in Kabale where we can be able to reach out into other countries as one of the biggest suppliers of rice. Our debt policy, I've said, has significantly changed. That's one lesson. Source of capital, we've learned so much. Sometimes we are held up because we don't know where to get capital. This is a big other area of discussion, but supplier credit has worked for us significantly based on trust and the relationships that we've had with our suppliers. I believe the effect of compounding, the compounding effect is also one that has played in our favor. Like I said, every coin that we got, we reinvested back. So you invest back and put in and get more and more and more. That's one of the ways we've been able to grow our capital base to where we are up today. And it's something we are keenly following up, especially after the directors' discussion on compounding, your time, your money, and everything. We've also learned about our market based from the discussions from Jerome. I did a market. I looked at our market, the model, and we've streamlined that. We've focused on mostly business to business, and we understand how to deliver our services and our target customers, which has improved our margins significantly. So that exercise really helped us this year in terms of streamlining our business. I think those are the key areas that I would say in terms of our learning lessons from our failures that has helped us to where we are as of today. Given the time, I would like to give a chance for opportunity for some questions from the forum. Thank you very much, Sidi.
Wow, Ivan. I think you're the person who has benefited arguably the most. Thank you so much for your feedback. I can see there's growth here. That's exciting. Yeah. Someone is saying 1 billion, so good. Destiny help us. These are just some of the comments we are having. So I would like to open up the floor to the rest of us. If we have any questions for Ivan, please just raise your hand. And yeah, we have only 6 minutes. We'll just limit it to 1 question per person. You could just raise your hand and we could use this time for that. Ivan, I'm going to ask, you've talked about failure. So you've talked about different things. Like if you could just highlight on one particular, one major lesson that you think we could all pick out from your journey from 2017. One thing you could, okay, well, as director, I would say one thing you would do differently, just one. What would that one be?
I think my one thing that I could do different is the issue of having a vision, a mission, and your goals is very key at the start of the business. If you can be able to articulate that, it gives you a good stand in where you start from and the principles that you need to put to starting with. These principles sound very, very simple, but they're very critical foundations. And I think we didn't start the business with the right principles. We just went in excited and wanted to just do business. And indeed, that's we didn't have vision. We were just selling, and we ended up failing at the beginning. So I think having a vision, and the principles, simple principles like the key one: business money is not your money; it's a business. So that for me stood out for me significantly.
Yes, business money is not your money, as someone likes to say here. Yes, Rosemary, yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ivan, for such an elaborate presentation. My questions to you would be, where do you see the business in the next 5 years? And what is your sustainability plan? Do you see yourself continuing in trade? Will you look at other, a value chain? What exactly is your plan sustainably for the business?
Thank you, Rosemary. In terms of where do we see ourselves in the next 5 years, we're looking at growing significantly. We're looking at focusing specifically in rice, because there's also an important thing of focusing. We tried doing grain in terms of posho, we tried to do sugar, we tried to do salt, or salt has very bad margins. So we realize there is power in focus. Focusing on one thing, and we've resolved to focus on rice. What we want to do is grow our volumes on rice specifically, and have all sorts of rice that we can come to source from different places. Strategically, I prefer that location because there is a market through Congo, Rwanda, and Burundi that we're trying to position ourselves over a period of time to make it easier because we know people come from Congo to buy rice in Kampala and even in Rwanda. So our strategy is to have a home there that we can be able to make it easier for those people to buy. So in the next 5 years is to grow the business and have a home. Sustainably is by just increasing the variety. Food is a big business globally. Rice is one of the easiest food you can ever cook, and somehow cheaper, because if you compare to matoke, you compare to the other foods, the hassle you go through to make is you can't compare. You go home and boil your rice and eat it. So sustainability is for us to maintain in that area and take advantage of what is grown, especially in the region. Tanzania is one of the biggest rice growers. Uganda is nowhere, it's very small. We sell a bit of Ugandan rice, but we believe there is still opportunity for growth.
Wow, we love how clear the vision is. Yes, if there are no more questions, now our time is fast spent. I'm just going to poke Director Wori. Okay.
Chairman Wendy.
Yes. Your
Yes,
comments, please.
Ivan, thank you so much for your presentation. And I have a small question, however. What challenges do you face at the moment? What's your biggest challenge you see in the business that you're running as is today?
Wow. Challenge. I think one of our biggest challenges is getting a variety. We want to be able to serve, when you're serving one product, it's hard to be able to expand, because if you're saying you're serving only rice, the only way you can be able to serve more is to be able to give people different options. Like, you know, if you ask me, there is different types of rice globally. There is super, there's Kaiso, Upland, Basmati, Vietnam, all sorts of rice. So we want to be able to give all those varieties. We want to give them in different sizes, but challenge is sourcing. And importation is very expensive. There is a very huge barrier in terms of the taxes for other varieties of rice. So it becomes very expensive. Now we're limited to majorly a super rice, which is a Tanzanian rice, and our limited Kaiso and Upland. So variety has been one of our biggest challenge. Secondly is a trade business requires very huge capitalization. The margins are very small. 3%, you know, to squeeze 3% out of this business, it's crazy. It's very crazy. So one of the challenges is you've got to have very deep pockets. We're not yet there, but we believe in that journey. And you know, capital, if you're going to borrow for such business which have very slim margins, you're almost going to work for the bank. So you have to be very disciplined with the little you have and maximize it, take advantages of increasing your margins where possible. We realize during scarcity is where we make huge margins. This year, because of the weather conditions, rice has been scarce in different parts. So when we have a very good supplier, we can be able to make margins. But when the supplier is also running out, then it becomes very difficult. So I think the variety bit and the capitalization is still a very huge challenge.
Wow.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Ivan.
Back to you, Chairman, to close us out.
Oh, thank you so much, Ivan. People will be back tomorrow with the grill. Let's all come to the grill. We can clearly see there are some lessons that people are learning from this group. And as Upmo says, when it's raining at your neighbors, it's also raining at yours. So look forward for those amazing turnovers. I pray that God will give us strength where we are weak, will give us wisdom where we lack wisdom, will give us clarity where we are confused, and will give us speed and acceleration where we're slow. Pray all this trust in Jesus' mighty name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, CD. Thank you, everyone.
Amen.